Hey Charlie.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you? So you're notoriously anti-Civil Rights Act.
Well, again, I explained that earlier. There's parts of it that were good.
Okay. I want to know what your idea for like not only Black liberation, but like liberation for any type of minority that was protected through the Civil Rights Act. Like what your idea for that would be if it wasn't there.
Yeah, again, I said it earlier that the part of the Civil Rights Act that disallowed businesses from administering services based on race, that was a good part. The other parts that created this ridiculously overreaching anti-racist bureaucracy was ridiculous, and now it's being...
Like what parts?
Well, for example, the parts that give us the enforcement on the Voting Rights Act, which says that So I'll give you an example. Merrick Garland recently said that states cannot have voter ID because it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act. So that's insane because the Civil Rights Act went as far to say not just disparate encounter, but disparate impact.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
I get that.
So the impact goes too far for me. Now, for example, if you go to a Walgreens and someone says blacks shall not come in, that should obviously be illegal. But if it says that, hey, at Walgreens, black customers are stopped more for shoplifting than white customers, then they have come into stores, by the way, and big settlements have been paid because it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act, even though it turns out that the black shoplifters were like actually shoplifting more on average than white shoplifters. So disparate impact is very, very dangerous.
Okay.
And that's where the Civil Rights Act allowed us to go.
Okay, I get that. But I also have another question about like student protests regarding you've been notoriously against like, like the Black Lives Matter protests, the Palestinian encampment that was here last year.
One a little less, but yeah.
Yeah. But then like, if I'm not mistaken, you're pretty pro like anti-COVID, like anti-restriction for COVID protesters. Like protests, just to be clear, I'm pro like any sort of protest. Like I'm pro.
I think they all should have a right.
Yes, but like when protest has been shown to like voice the opinion of the people and create change in a very like in a way that could be systemic in the future, why do you pick and choose certain protests and certain gatherings to like to go against?
To be clear, they all should be legal. I mean,
Yes.
Unless you're occupying a campus illegally,
Yeah.
which was happening, or you're harassing kids on the way to class, you don't have a right to do that.
But there was also some of that on the way around. But
I'm sorry, what?
and then just keep on going.
Or in BLM, you have a right to
Yeah.
march for that, but you don't have a right to loot stores, right?
Yeah, but then there's also like a lot of like Black liberation movements like used violence as a way.
Yes, I agree, and that was wrong.
Yeah, but then there wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be what?
There wouldn't be equal rights. Like there would.
Are there? Well, hold on a second. I'm against the Civil Rights Act in its current writing.
Yes,
So,
I mean, but
so
like
I'm very consistent in that. So I don't think.
Yeah, but there's a
violence
good
got us
chance that there
anywhere.
wouldn't be like an option for like businesses to discriminate against black people if there weren't protests
first of all,
that actually
Okay,
caused attention.
First of all, I think looting is wrong and destruction of property
Yes,
is wrong,
yeah.
period.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're doing it in the name of. It was wrong when they were smashing windows on January 6th. It's wrong when you're burning a Wendy's in the name of George Floyd.
Okay, yeah.
Secondly, what was exactly being protested with the BLM? Like the death of George Floyd?
I mean, no, it's just police brutality and defunding police. Well, not only defunding, but like allocating those resources to different areas.
It's so
that will
outrageous.
help
There's not
that.
enough police in Black American neighborhoods.
I disagree.
And
I live in New York. There's police. There's four police in
crime
every
is
corner.
way up in New York, man.
I know, but it's not. But that's a
we used to
testament
have
to
more
how
police. No. The head count has gone down.
There's like four
Hold on.
policemen every
so
corner.
let me ask you: was the city safer under Giuliani or Bloomberg or under De Blasio or Adams? What part of New York are you from?
I'm from like close to Harlem.
Okay, so you would know this intimately then.
Yes.
You know that it was safer under Bloomberg than it was under De Blasio.
Yeah, I'm not very pro De Blasio or Adams.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but just to be clear, that you're asking me like what protests I pick and choose.
Yeah.
Like, I also will see what they're protesting. Again, they all have a right to protest. To be
Yes,
clear,
yeah.
but if you're protesting something stupid, I'm going to criticize you. Like, how about this? Instead of protesting against systemic racism, why don't you go protest to put dads back in the home?
I think that's a pretty stupid.
It's
protest.
stupid to go put dads back in the home?
Yes.
Why? No, tell me. That's
because
so
that's not like I feel like to protest it has to be something more systemic.
This is interesting. So instead of actually improving your life, you should go protest and
dads
scream.
back in the home is a pretty individual issue.
Exactly. That's what makes us different. So instead of going into the street and screaming about some sort of injustice, go improve your life.
Yeah, but that's not how you create change in a widespread audience.
Bingo. That's what
pro-
makes conservatives different than leftists. Is that we think the true revolution should happen at home. The true revolution is you being a better citizen, getting loyally married to your spouse, having children, raising them well, going to church, having a job, being a good citizen, not going on the streets complaining about.
Well, what I'm against that because I think, and I'm not against that, but I'm just, if whatever you decide to do with your life is like what you decide to do, but I think revolution comes through the gathering of people with like-minded views, and that can come most effectively through protest.
Sure, but I think be careful what revolution you try to invite.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's the point. People can choose if they want to or don't want to.
Yeah, I think that it's so interesting. Instead of trying to like create this massive revolutionary change, use that energy to look yourself in the mirror and saying, I have a lot of problems, and I'm going to fix those. But that only affects society's problems.
But that only affects you.
Exactly, because that's what you can control. What we have turned into is a country that worries far more about other people's problems than their own problems.
Yeah, but what if there are a lot of societal issues? Like, what are we supposed to just like not care about?
Well, of course you should care about them, but these are where has the emphasis been on stop doing certain behaviors that are obviously bad for you and therefore bad for society?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm voting for Kamala because of the child tax credit and because of.
Really?
Yeah.
You know the one that Trump had in his tax cut?
No, I know. It's a good thing, though. I agree with it both.
Yeah, so do you think that Kamala would manage the economy well?
Yeah.
Why hasn't she done it the last 3.5 years?
She's the vice president. Are we gonna
right.
act like the vice president is managing the economy?
Do you think Joe Biden's running the economy right now?
I think the White House senior staff.
Hold on a second. If
Senior staff.
Kamala Harris wanted to run the country, she could. How did Kamala Harris do with running the border?
Again,
How many illegals have come in under her watch? Can you get?
Well, I obviously don't know the number off the top of my head.
It's 10 million people. Is that a success?
I don't think the border wall would be any more of a success.
Well, hold on. Under Trump, border crossings were at an all-time low. Kamala Harris, 10 million people have illegally come to this country, which is more than the population of New Jersey. Why does she deserve to be a president when she can't even manage the border?
Why? Okay, so, yeah, I know. The bill that Biden and Harris put in to increase the border patrol.
No. Don't. 1 second, please. No. It's not about the bill. You could do this all by executive order. Remain in Mexico. They've decided to empower the foreign. Kamala Harris has overseen the border. She failed. She oversaw the Russian-Ukrainian dispute, went to the Munich Security Conference, and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians died. She was the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act that makes everyone have to pay more in goods and services. Her first day was 3.5 years ago as VP. What has she done that has given you confidence she'll do a good job as president?
I mean, she inherited a bad COVID economy, and it's gotten better. It has. It's gotten better since COVID. Yes, the economy is better since the end of COVID.
Prices are higher. People can't afford homes. 1.5 million people lost their jobs in the last year. You ask anybody in the economy, the American people don't agree with it, by the way. 75% of Americans disapprove of the economy right now.
Yeah.
But if she was so good, by the way, so she says, I'm going to do no tax on tips, stole it from Trump. Why doesn't she just tell the IRS to do that right now?
Right. She's been in there years.
I don't honestly know much about tax on tips and the IRS
but
thing.
But let's just put all this aside.
Yeah.
Would you not agree that Trump's presidency was objectively better than Joe Biden's?
I would not agree on that. What did
How
Trump
do you judge
do that you really
border crossings all-time low? No new wars. You agree with that, right? No new wars.
He didn't pull out of Afghanistan, which he promised to do.
Hold on a second.
No
new wars.
He continued a war, though.
Which war?
The war in Afghanistan.
How many Americans died in Afghanistan under Trump?
He didn't pull out troops, though. He promised.
Yes, he did. He was winding it down. No new wars under Trump. Guys, let me talk, please. Guys.
Yeah.
But let me so the economy under Donald Trump. If you guys want to buy a home in your life, when Trump was president, please let me talk, man. Jeez. When Trump was president, you required $75,000 a year to be able to own a home. It now requires $120,000 a year to buy a home under Harris and Biden. $50,000 more a year. So if you guys want to buy a home, you have to make $120,000 a year now, thanks to Kamala Harris.
Guys, how much did it cost the last day of Trump's presidency, though?
$75,000 a year.
The last day of his presidency?
Yes.
During the height of COVID,
Yes.
it cost $75,000 to buy a home?
Yes.
All right.
And gas was $2.
She's a millionaire.
And so I'm getting at this outside of vibes and Trump hatred. What has this woman done to earn anybody's vote? She won't take questions from the press. She didn't get a single vote from Democrat primary voters. She was installed by some sort of Zoom conference vote. Like, who is this person? Can you tell me?
Kamala Harris, who is she?
Like, did she earn any votes? Like, how did she get here?
I mean, the vice president, or she was the vice president. He dropped out, and she was on the ticket. That's my best guess of why she is.
Looking at this, does that give you confidence that this person should be president?
I'm fine with her experience. I think she has a lot of experience for the office. Yeah, I don't think you can argue that she doesn't.
I mean, we already went to the border, but just like, you got to give me something, or the audience, like, make the case. Like, we're here in a battleground state, Wisconsin. Like, show me the case. I'll give you the case. Trump was president for 4 years. People were richer. World was safer. Border was secure. Things were going really, really well. We respect our world. Kamala Harris, like, what's the thing? What's the sales pitch? Outside of vibes and Brat Summer, like, what is the pitch?
I mean, abortion's a big one. We're going to disagree on it, but I think it should be.
Okay, let's say you're right on abortion.
Yeah.
Okay, where is that the most important civilizational issue? While we're on like.
It's pretty important to a lot of people.
So just let me understand. So Donald Trump says leave it to the states. How would that impact Wisconsin?
So Wisconsin is this extremely gerrymandered state. Most of our statewide elected officials are Democrats, and our state legislature is almost a supermajority of Republicans. It's not reflective of what the state actually wants. And the law we're defaulting to is from 1849, I think. So it's left to the states, but we're not going to pass any new. We're going to default to 1849.
Well, isn't there a ballot referendum around it? It's on the ballot, right? Yeah. I was going to say Wisconsin is legalized abortion. So how would Trump even interfere with your abortion plans?
I don't think I think it's by appointing pro-life judges to circuit courts and things like that. That's the main way.
Okay, so the case for Kamala is that Donald Trump might appoint circuit court judges.
He's going to appoint worse judges. That's one of the most important parts of the presidency.
So I'm just being clear.
Appointing judges like
well, first of all, I think his judges were amazing and upheld the Constitution and the rule of law and all that. But it's remarkable to me that like the lack of the case for Kamala. Does it bother you? We can talk in a second. Does it bother you that she does not take questions from the press? I've been here for 3 hours. She will not take 5 minutes of questions. Does that bother you? For a president, not a senator, a president.
I haven't watched her on the press a lot, so
because you wouldn't be able to watch her on the press because she doesn't talk to the press.
Like she Vicks.
It's fine.
If she's not talking to the press, I think she should talk to him more. It's not going to change my vote, but I think she should talk to him more.
Okay, last question. I'm sorry to keep you here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that she could do that would make you not vote for her?
Yeah. I think if she reversed a lot of her positions from the Democratic Party and moved more to the center,
like saying that she's for fracking when she was against fracking?
Or
saying that she was like against the electric vehicle mandate when she was for the electric vehicle mandate?
I'm talking about issues that I care about more than fracking. Like abortion and like gun control.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. So this is so interesting, and I'm glad we have clarity in that agreement.
Yeah.
I think preventing World War III and making sure Americans can own homes and having a robust economy not being invaded is far more important than the ability to murder unborn children, but we'll agree to disagree. Thank you.
That's where we end it, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we go.
All right, yes, sir.
All right, sweet.
Make sure you talk right into the mic.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, can I raise it a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, how's this?
Perfect. Great.
All right. Hello, Charlie.
Can you guys give him a little bit more space?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, how do you feel about replacing the Electoral College with ranked choice voting?
I'm not a fan of ranked choice voting at all. Yeah. Do you want to explain what ranked choice voting is, or?
Yeah. So okay. So like RFK, for example, he dropped out of the race. I thought he was a pretty good candidate. He had a lot of good policies, but under the two-party system that we have, he is suppressed, and I think the Electoral College has a lot of flaws. Territories, they can't vote. Conservatives in big blue states are suppressed. They're ignored because of the winner-takes-all system, and the distortion of the votes. Like Wyoming is 4 times the voting power of California. I think there's a lot of flaws, and ranked choice voting would make our votes more specified.
Got it. So first, you were RFK fan. Are you voting for Trump now?
I don't want to say,
Okay.
But
I'll put you down as a probable. Yeah. Okay. Right. Put him down as a probably. Right. All right. But no, you're talking about two different things. The Electoral College is different than ranked choice. Ranked choice voting is a way of saying that basically the first loser ends up advancing as the candidate, right? So are you in favor of a popular vote for president, or?
I thought the ranked choice voting meant like you go to vote your favorite candidate's number one.
Correct. Yeah.
Second. So I think that's good because people could give their overall thoughts, and people will be
Right.
more like researched about their.
Yeah, I
communities.
mean, where we've seen ranked choice voting employed is usually by liberals and Democrats in very, very red states, and they end up basically eliminating the Republican Party. That's a little bit more nuanced, but as far as the Electoral College goes, I love the fact that Wisconsin is now one of the most important states in this election, and that Wisconsin values and Wisconsin voters are going to have to be heard by both candidates, and that it's not just a race in Los Angeles and New York City. Now, understand, yes, Wyoming has a lot of power, but so does Rhode Island and Hawaii, which are two blue states that are not as big, right?
Yes.
So the beauty of the Electoral College is that it recognizes that America's system is different than Europe. It's different than most of the world. We are states first, and then we are a national project, and therefore the states need to have some form of representation in how we tabulate our votes. And the brilliance of the Electoral College is that we're going to try to turn it up, guys. I'll try to really enunciate, okay? The beauty of the Electoral College is that the swing states, think of how diverse these states are. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If it was a pure popular vote, which I know you're not advocating for, it would all be about Seattle, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, New York.
But the top like 10 cities is like around 10% of the total population. That would not be nearly enough to win the election. Even the top 50 cities wouldn't get you close enough to win the election.
Well, so yes and no. I mean, the population of the metroplex areas are more than half the American population. So you're right. Anyone from Chicago? I'm from Chicago. I'm sure we got a lot of Chicagoans here, right? So we all know the difference between Chicago and Chicagoland, right? So Chicagoland is nearly, I think, 7 or 8 million people, where Chicago's 3 million people. But I think you can agree, at least we can agree, the beauty of the Electoral College, and it does have some flaws. The beauty, though, is that it requires candidates to have to go to many different parts of the country and to earn support, not just go to the coastal cities. And the way it works in a lot of European elections, in the United Kingdom or in French election, the United Kingdom not is a good example because they have a parliamentary system, but like France, they just run up the score in Paris and they say, forget it, to the rules. I think it's a good thing that Wisconsin farmers have a say in this election. It gives Wisconsin a seat at the table. So thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Okay, I just want to start with, I heard earlier in this section that you were talking about how Pfizer and Moderna push the vaccines on people. Am I correct? Okay. So I wanted to talk about how you're a big advocate for having a choice as Americans to get the vaccine, which I completely agree with. Yeah. But also at the same time, you also advocate for women not to have the freedom to choose what they do with their bodies, as well as the LGBTQ people, they shouldn't have freedom to do what they want or what they're fighting for equal rights.
Okay, so if it's not your DNA, it's not your choice. Do you agree with that?
I would partially agree. I mean, I do agree, but
so you have sovereignty over your DNA?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so when there's another DNA inside of you, do you have sovereignty over that DNA?
It is a part of the woman that...
Well, it's also part of the man, so it's new DNA, though.
It's attached to the woman, that's what I'm saying.
It's attached, but it's not her.
Yeah, absolutely, but, if you think about it, theoretically, it's like a parasite. It's attached to your body.
A baby's a parasite?
It's a fetus. It's a lump of cells in the woman's...
We're all lumps of cells.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So, but what you're trying to do is you're using dehumanizing language. Clump of cells.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
But you are. No, it's okay. This is typical abortion language, which is try to make the baby seem that it's not a baby, because the word baby gets people animated. Because if we called it a baby, all of a sudden we wouldn't abort it. But it is a baby. By every characteristic, it's a baby. So I guess the question in front of us is, with the vaccine question, you have sovereignty over your DNA.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as there's new DNA that is not your own deoxyribonucleic acid, you do not have sovereignty over that DNA. It is a temporary visitor in your own DNA, but it's not your DNA. It's its own human being.
Okay.
I don't have sovereignty over you.
Absolutely,
you don't have sovereignty over me.
Yeah.
And your mom right now is not allowed to come back to campus and kill you.
Yeah, that's not the point, though.
No, but think about it, because you guys are different. So we wouldn't.
Choice of an.
But your mom doesn't remain in control of you for the rest of your life.
No, yeah, absolutely not.
Because you're separate DNA, and it just so happens that it's temporarily housed within, not that it is you.
Okay.
So no one's contesting that women do not have autonomy over their own being. The point is, what about the being that also has autonomy that you are forsaking in the woman? because that baby has rights too.
Well, you can't like ask the fetus the question, right? It should come down to the woman that's carrying
I
the
can't
child,
ask my
right?
6-month-old the question. Just
Absolutely
understand.
not, yeah.
So just being able to reason with a being does not mean that the being doesn't have rights.
But
Correct?
what about when it comes to the safety of the mother that's carrying the child?
So in what circumstance? So you're saying, so if the mom's life is at risk, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Incredibly rare, unusual.
Yeah,
Try to
and I agree
perform a
with that.
cesarean section. So abortion is not medically necessary in 99.9% of those cases. A cesarean section is where they'll cut you right below the belly button, and they'll try to deliver the baby via cesarean. It's better to do that to give the baby a chance to live than try to euthanize the baby and break its neck and spine and put poison in its brain, right? So cesarean section is a much better option.
Okay.
So there are options available other than abortion, but the abortion lobby would never tell you that.
Yeah, but what about like the common cases of rape and incest?
Yeah, so that's
you know
not
what
as
I'm saying?
common. It's less than 1%, but I will defend it. So
Yeah.
it's less than 1% of all abortions.
Okay,
so
I
let's
do
just say
agree with that. That's
hypothetically,
not- yeah.
somebody in this audience is conceived in rape. Who is it?
I can't point
Exactly,
that out.
because
I mean,
babies
'cause I don't-
conceived in rape get the same human rights as babies conceived in a loving relationship. So your human rights don't disappear just based on how you were conceived,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And secondly, doing an evil after an evil is never correct.
No, yeah.
And of course I have sympathy for rape victims. It's not diminishing it, but saying that all of a sudden we're now going to murder an unborn baby because you got horrendously raped, morally, that sort of formula never applies to anything else in life.
Okay, but I guess more of what I'm getting at, and I'm sure you covered it, but it's the purpose of having a choice in this free country that should be
No, of course,
available
you have
to
a choice for you, but not choice for others. And that's the point with abortion, is that there's another being involved. So when it comes to the vaccine, you cannot be forced to do something against your sovereign being that you don't want. But as soon as another DNA is introduced, as soon as another being is there, that being has rights as much as you do. Because I respect your rights, and you got to respect those babies' rights. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay.
Hi, Charlie.
You are right. I will. 1 sec. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question kind of based on affirmative action. I'm a computer engineer here at UW-Madison. I'm about to graduate. And there's a lot that I've found through research and just general, I guess, my studies. Not only does affirmative action help, minorities, people of color, but also women in general. And there's a lot of facets of engineering, the medical system, and other factors that, because of affirmative action, have helped. I'll just go into something. For example, let's say in the medical field, endometriosis, something like that has not been studied in women due to so little women being in the medical field. Also, for example, cars, the seatbelt is made especially for the male body. They're only tested with male mannequins, so a lot of women are in risk of dying in car crashes at a higher rate. There's a lot of things that benefit from a diverse group of people, both in engineering and medical fields and education and other facets of the systems. And I was just wondering, without affirmative action, how do you think we can bring these people in to bring a variety of opinions?
Yeah, no, I
and
mean,
views?
just have a meritocracy, right? So you have 3 white men around you. You can see 1, 2, 3. So if one
a lot
supports
around me.
affirmative, no, it's okay. If one supports affirmative action,
Right.
it would mean that you would be okay turning to those 3 men and saying, I deserve the position more than you based on something that doesn't matter more
Not
than something that does
necessarily.
matter.
I feel like that's one facet of it that we're not also paying attention to, is that people that are graduating from the same schools. They're graduating with the same degrees.
With lower test scores, though, much lower. Every study of affirmative action, for example, the Harvard case showed that it was nearly 40% lower test scores for people of color versus their white male counterparts and Asian
Okay.
counterparts.
And so,
So
how
at
can
some point-
is that like why would that happen? Do you think
why?
it's yeah?
Why?
What
would
causes
happen?
that? Do you think it's just because
Well,
people of color are more stupid?
No,
or,
of course not.
Right.
I mean, people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that
Exactly.
don't prioritize education as
so
much.
how do we
but
fix
that's
those
not,
socioeconomic statuses?
Right, that's an interesting point. Not should we try to penalize white males that are competent to go run our systems and our institutions. So
Right.
those are 2 different things.
Right.
So what we're doing is our institutions are now becoming less excellent. Our country is not working like it used to because we basically told people that are very qualified and very competent that, sorry, we're not going to put a position for you here. For example, the U.S. Secret Service. Let me just give you one example, okay? We can all agree that protecting a president, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is super important, right?
Right.
But now the Secret Service has said that we want to have 30% of all our agents be women, which, by the way, they have lower fitness criteria. So they have less pull-ups, less push-ups, slower mile time.
Oh yeah, that's something that's due to like your
Hold on.
like, genetics.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
Right.
But this is affirmative action, right? And so therefore, when
Well, there's like fields like I don't think that's a
But
good.
let me
One second. I just don't think that's a good example because like women will never be as strong as men, at least
Got it. So
genetically.
that's an interesting
So I think
question.
it should be something that's
women,
more like
will women be
ideologically based.
Will women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but
Okay. Well, then how is that different than the Secret Service example?
well, the problem is that
Because
for
the
exa-
male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good. Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women. Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings because our brain is wired a certain way. Women are far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
that's not necessarily
Oh
true.
yes, you guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a reason.
No,
I'm
no, these
here,
are
like-
these are bimodal general truths, right? Of course, there's exceptions, but
It's not
if you,
a general truth, though. I feel like women have the capability of
course they do,
having
but it's
political
not-
conversations.
Of course they do,
and-
but it's not the general wiring or nature
It's
of women.
not. There's no wiring for your brain to like Donald Trump. Like that's not a real thing. I
Hold
feel
on,
like.
but wait a second. But do you think that men and women are made different in our brains? In our
Certain things, but not necessarily. It doesn't like
Like
channel
what-
you
like
to be
what
a
things?
specific thing.
like
Huh?
what things?
Well, like there's like specific wirings to like produce certain types of hormones, and that's like differences that are genetically.
So you don't think that men are more likely to like contact sports, more likely to enjoy football, UFC, hunting?
I think that's because of a societal norm in general. Like over
you
a lot
really
of
no,
time.
come on, you're smarter than that. That's not true.
Well,
Hold on. So why is it
There's
that
women that play football, so like you can't just
of
say
course,
that.
and there
so
are
that's
men
an
that dress
example
in
of women
drag,
that
but
don't
those
do
are
that.
those are not the,
Sorry.
the general truth of it. So let me just be clear. You think that there's nothing within the female brain in its constitution that makes young ladies more likely?
I mean, being that I'm an engineer, I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like there's.
So you think if you pick a random lady here that they'd be just as comfortable sitting and watching a 4-hour football game than they were to go get their hair done with their best girlfriend?
Well, I feel like that's kind of diminishing to say, oh, because you're a woman, you will not be able to sit through a 4-hour
But
football field.
is it diminishing to say a man wouldn't want to go get his hair done? No,
No, I'm sure you get your hair done, right?
not really. It's like 10 minutes in and out, like barbershop.
Okay, but you still do it. It's.
But the point, again, there are certain things that women will take more seriously. For example, women will take a lot longer getting ready for the day than men.
Yeah.
Right? Why?
Because we're held to higher standards to
No,
look pretty.
no.
For example, your hair. How short is your hair? It's super short. Mine, it's gonna take longer
What,
to
do,
dry.
do you wear
right?
makeup?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you want to look pretty, and it takes.
Yeah, that's not important to me because I'm a man.
Well, right. But who
But
made
you-
you
but
feel
there's
that
something
way?
in your
but you
wiring-
feel comfortable
No,
not
no,
wearing
it's not
makeup
a-
because of a certain reason.
Well, but you wouldn't feel comfortable wearing makeup?
I can not wear makeup.
But why do you do it?
I mean, like right now, I'm not wearing like anything really.
No, I know, but that's the point is that at some point you wear makeup because there's something within your wiring that says, I want to be presentable to the world. And that wiring honestly is, I want to find a mate to have
I mean,
children.
this question was about affirmative action. I think we're
No,
getting
no,
kinda
it's
off
not.
the
It's actually
subject.
really important because I don't think there's any differences between races, but I think that when it comes to affirmative action, we're saying that there are differences.
Right.
That we're trying to say that things that don't matter should matter. So I don't think race matters. Affirmative
Right.
action says race
What
does
about
matter.
like women also in fields like that? Like what I
Well,
explained
I
earlier.
think that's even more dangerous, to be honest with you. If like we're going to say that women should be Secret Service agents protecting Trump.
Not Secret Service. I'm talking about medicine, engineering, that type of
Well,
thing.
hold on. Okay, so should we try to have the same amount of female to male OBGYNs?
I think it should
Hold on.
be similar to the amount of like
OBGYNs, though.
the general population.
So hold on. 85% of all OBGYNs are female. So now should we have parity so that men
I
should-
have an OBGYN that's a man. That's not a problem.
That's not the point. The point is should we have parity?
I think it should be similar to like whatever the.
Got it. Okay. So you're consistent. So women studying in the OBGYN field will be actively discriminated against. So a man can, because we must have parity.
It's not about people in the OBGYN specifically. It's about people in general. Men were, like, for example, women were not able to vote until like less than 100 years ago, basically, right?
What does that have to do with?
One second. So because of that, a lot of the laws, a lot of everything that's set in place was made by men, was excluding women, was creating like like reforms and like certain legislations that would specifically, support men rather than women because
Or
women don't have that
or
ability.
support society. I don't think it was always about
Well,
supporting
for
men.
example, like what about it? Like what I brought up, endometriosis, so like the seatbelt accident, like all those stuff is due because we tend to favor men in specific.
Well, so I just don't believe that. First of all, because
mean,
research
I
will go
can
where the money
show
is,
you,
and
but-
so if there was money in endometriosis research,
Not much because
well,
men
that's
don't
why.
care.
So maybe it wasn't sexism. Maybe it was a monetary explanation.
Well, who has the money in a society?
Well, actually, women
usually?
control more money than men in the country.
But women weren't able to have bank accounts until like less than 100 years ago, so they can't really build that generational wealth.
do you think it's been a better thing with women's liberation the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I would
Do
be.
you think that's interesting? Do you think women are happier in America today than they were 30 years ago? Then why are they the most depressed group in the history of the species? Women are the most miserable they've ever been. Like, why is that?
I don't think that's because we're allowed to have money.
No, I'm
now, or
asking. I'm
because-
asking but it's like more liberation, more college degrees, more birth control, less
I
marriage.
would
less
argue
kids.
otherwise. I don't know where you got that data.
No,
like, we're
everybody
more
agrees that
depressed.
women are super miserable. As far as versus 30 years ago.
Well, it could be the fact that because women weren't able to go to a psychologist or like before.
Or maybe it's because they're not doing the one thing that they want to do, which is to get married and have children.
Yeah, she's saying that no, it's actually opposite. It's saying that women actually says women around the world report higher levels of life satisfaction than men, but at the same time report more daily stress.
Yeah,
so we're just held to
type in women antidepressant use 2024. It is the highest it has ever been.
But there's like more layers to it than that. It can't just be that. You have
Is
to
there?
look at why are women more likely to go and talk to a psychologist. There's the differences in that.
So, but I'm just curious. So, do you think women are generally happier in 2024 than they were in 1964?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I just had the question of how would you want to fix that? Just
There's no problem to fix. Pure meritocracy.
no, I'm just saying like how do you bring people with diverse opinions?
Oh yeah, I mean I don't care that much about. I care about excellence.
So like women, like you used to be
I
studying
don't
into
care
stuff
about
like
putting women in
endometriosis
STEM.
and
I
stuff
care
like
about being
that.
a strong
No, I'm talking
and-
about like being able to like look into those type of things, like endometriosis, like all this stuff. How do we make that
that's-
safer for
those
other
are-
people without bringing people that care about it?
Not that important to me. I want the country we once had,
Oh.
which was the greatest country ever, where we put excellence and we put superior intellect above like sensitive racial politics. Not interesting to me.
Okay.
Because it was a bunch of white men that were like running the country, and all of a sudden we've
I'm
decided.
not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just
no,
saying
good.
that.
Like that's fine. I mean, but when we used to have a country that was based on merit, we were more successful, and we were a better run country, and we're objectively not now.
Yeah.
We're a country
I'm just
can't
saying that in
we can't even
engineering, there's
protect
a
the
lot
president
of-
from getting shot.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts in engineering that because we don't have a diverse look of opinions, then we're putting certain people into more danger, like women in cars. That's like one example.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
All right. Thanks. You're voting for Trump?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I can't.
Yeah, well, you lied to get a hat, and that shows your
I
character.
didn't lie. I said I would wear it. You said if you wear it.
I said
you
only
have
if you
it.
vote, but that's fine. All right, next question.